My DVD review of Ring of Honor Double Feature. Now, first, until I get into the review, this review of this show is going to be kind of different than the other Ring of Honor DVD reviews I do. It's not going to be as in-depth of match by match. Pretty much, this is going to be more of my thoughts of the show and what did I think of the show overall. Because, if I try to review them, separately, it wouldn't really make sense because the way this DVD is packaged, it's packaged at, a $20 DVD, 2 shows packed in one, so couldn't really, review it separately, and if I tried to do it in depth, it would, take too long to get it in the YouTube 11-minute time limit. So let me just get into my thoughts of this. And I will say, first off, this was a solid show. Nothing I would say, go out your way to get, nothing like great. But you saw some pretty solid stuff on here. First off, the stuff I really liked about this show was the production value was a whole lot better than a normal Ring of Honor DVD, which I thought was good. And the thing I think they need to do is do some of this production value that they did on this DVD and incorporate this not into all the shows, because I'm not a fan of, huge production values, but I think if you did these production values on the pay-per-views, it would overly help the pay-per-views out. Casual fans will look at it, okay, this promotion is not, so much all flashy, but, it's at least, trying with the stage and better production value. So I think they need to learn from this and try to start doing this on the pay-per-views, because it definitely looked good with Ring of Honor having a stage at both these nights. And, the one thing that probably hurt this show was the people that were probably there live in attendance, where, this was 2 double shot shows before the Take No Prisoners pay-per-view in Philadelphia the night after night 2. And what they did during this show was they did taping for the movie The Wrestler, which is I think going to be coming out sometime in mid or sometime this time next year, which I'm looking forward to. Definitely, I haven't seen the original one, but I've heard some good stuff about that one. And just a wrestling movie, and I hope they do a good job with it. So just for that purpose, I think all wrestling fans are probably going to want to see it, especially if you're an indie fan. They tape stuff at Ring of Honor shows and Combat Zone shows and possibly, a few other indies. So, it was an interesting show to say the least. And, people that were there live probably were worn out, because a lot of times between the matches, you can tell this on commentating, because they said sometimes, made fun of the, how many times they had to take a break during, I think it was either, I don't know, can't remember what night it was, but it was the night when Bryan Danielson, I think was him and Austin Aries were teaming up to take on the Vulture Squad, and he made kind of a joke about, the whole giving the crowd instructions for the movie, like, you're supposed to cheer us and you're supposed to boo Jigsaw, and just whenever he does something, just say, put your mask back on. Pretty funny promo from Bryan Danielson. Stuff you saw good on night 1, I thought, was you saw a pretty good 4-corner survival with Erick Stevens, Claudio Castagnoli, BJ Whitmer, and Nigel McGuinness. It was pretty much a typical 4-corner survival, but you saw some good stuff in there. Nigel and Claudio worked well. This is pretty much the starts of building up to the Claudio and Nigel feud. Nigel took the pinfall, and Claudio pinned him in this match. A pretty decent match. Just if you're wondering my star ratings for all the matches, just look in the description box over there. And as far as other stuff you saw on here that were pretty good, you saw the Bryan Danielson and Austin Aries match, which was on night 1 versus Ruckus and Jigsaw. It should have been a whole lot better than what it was. It was just a typical tag match, nothing really great. You thought with those 4 wrestlers they could put on a very good tag match, but it might have been, the way that they taped this show that kind of wore down, the way some of the matches were put out. The best match on night 1 was by far Shiozaki versus Brent Albright, which had a very good match. Went a little too short, but you saw some good work in here, good back and forth action, a lot of good wrestling in the match between them two. Really enjoyed it. And then you saw Kevin Steen versus Davey Richards, which was pretty much a typical match between the two. Nothing really great, nothing really, nothing great, nothing bad, just a decent match But then the main event of night one was the Age of the Fall of Tyler Black and Joey Matthews versus the Briscoes. And this was just, the typical Age of the Fall versus Briscoes match as the main event. You saw some hardcore stuff here. I do gotta say, I don't really like Joey Matthews as a singles wrestler, but I gotta say he does work pretty good as a tag team worker, which he's done, when him and Christian York teamed up in ECW, they were pretty good. And then, his WWE time as the as Eminem with Johnny Nitro, aka now John Morrison. So he's better as a tag team performer, and he kind of just did what he did the times before, doing mostly WWE style, but it worked in this match, and but it does get him more heel heat when he does do that. So it's pretty good that he does do it at sometimes, but it kind of wears down the match. Then night two, I would say out of the nights was the better of the nights. You saw it starting to improve, I guess, on night two. They didn't have to do as much filming as they did for night one, so I think that probably helped night two out a little bit. You saw a pretty good opener with Davey Richards versus Claudio Castagnoli. Them two worked very well with each other. Other stuff you saw in there, you saw the Briscoes versus Sweet and Sour Incorporated, Brent, Albright, BJ Whitmer. And during these shows, which pretty much a lot of both these shows were low on, storylines, was pretty much, matches just done in between the production of the movie The Wrestler. But, you saw some storylines here. You kept on seeing Larry Sweeney come out here and try to start his thing with the Hangman's 3, which led to, him and Adam Pearce working together, him and Larry Sweeney, and then, just recently bringing the NWA title into Ring of Honor, which I thought was a very good thing. Other stuff you saw on here on night two, which by far the best match of both nights was Bryan Danielson and Austin Aries versus Go Shiozaki and Nigel McGuinness. And the thing that didn't make any sense was this was not the main event of night two. This was pretty much, I guess, after intermission or middle of the card, which didn't make any sense. I thought this would have worked better as the main event, because the main event of night two didn't make any fucking sense why you would put this as a main event. It seemed like a match you would put, mid-card or even as the opener. You had Eddie Edwards versus Necro Butcher versus Delirious versus Roderick, which, by mind you, wasn't a terrible match, but, it wasn't a match you should have had main event the show. Don't know, they might possibly would have maybe did the show different with the tapings. If the taping wasn't there, they probably would have had Go Shiozaki and Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson and Austin Aries as the main event, but that was by far the best match of the whole entire weekend. And if you do get this DVD or have seen this DVD, pretty much, the best thing to watch on this DVD is that. You had some other stuff. You had Kevin Steen versus Joey Matthews, which I didn't like their match at 6-year anniversary, but this match was a little better. Wasn't as bad. Joey Matthews, I thought, was kind of funny walking out there with I guess it was the Age of the Fall shirt, and pretty much all the people didn't like his matches before this, and he came out with the shirt saying "I cannot work," which I thought was priceless. And this was a decent match at best. Joey Matthews, like he has been doing, does the WWE style, but he does it intentionally. He's not like that's the only style he knows how to work, because he actually was a pretty good indie worker back in the day, but I feel, I guess that's the only way he can work right now, and it works good with the Age of the Fall. It gets them heel heat, and people really hate that style, at least hate that style within Ring of Honor, so it works well in that case. Then you saw Tyler Black versus Erick Stevens, which I felt could have been a whole lot better than what it was, but it was pretty decent. Like some of these matches on here, I felt could have been better than what they were. But overall, I would say the show was, overall a pretty decent show. I would say overall, I would probably give the show about a 6.75, possibly a 7. And I guess for the value of it being packed as 2 shows for the price of 1, that gets it up maybe to a 7.25 or possibly a 7.5. But not a show I would say go out your way and buy, but you're not going to be that disappointed in it. It's obviously good seeing, a little different type of Ring of Honor DVD, with the production values were higher on here.
them actually incorporating the stage, which I feel they need to do on their pay-per-views, like I said said earlier. But show that was pretty decent. Had some matches that I felt could have been a whole lot better than what they were, but possibly worth checking out if you're like me and want to pretty much see all the Ring of Honor shows and pretty much a Ring of Honor completist. Get the show, but if you're just a casual Ring of Honor fan, or if you're thinking about getting a Ring of Honor DVD and saying, just want to give it a try, don't start with this DVD. There's other shows you can start with.